Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Tachy Talks. We're excited to be here. We're excited to have you listening, watching, tuning in. We have a very exciting episode. You'll notice we have a guest with us, unless you're listening and not watching, in which case now you know because I just told you. This is Chris. He's our classmate in second year at the Windsor campus. We're going to be talking all about doing a master's degree before entering medicine. But before we get to all of that, I am here with my two friends. Introduce yourselves, friends.
Hello, everyone. I am the first friend that Haley just introduced, but not really because I'm introducing myself. So I introduced. My name is Advait. And I guess we just wait for Kylie.
Hey, I never know if you're going to say my name or point to me.
You're supposed to go, Advait always says, I'm pal one or I'm friend number one.
I'm friend number one.
And you're supposed to always go, and I'm Kylie.
And I'm Kylie.
That's Kylie.
Yeah. I am tired today. That is how I am.
Aren't we all just tired, though?
Okay, but regrouping. I found out that the undergraduates at the university have 1 week of classes left and we have 2 months. So yes, I am tired. What did you get up to this week, Advait?
All right. It's been a while. It's been like maybe 2 or 3 weeks since our last episode, but the weather has been getting really good and I've been super active lately because I need to be. During the winter, I was just sitting at home all day, doing nothing, just watching memes. But I had a good time. Been starting playing tennis again. You know, the usual. I went biking again. Actually, with Haley, I went biking, so that was pretty fun. And I started playing some basketball with some guys in our class. So it's been some good times being active. I'm gonna be super fit in a few months. Super fit.
Bikini bod Advait coming
exactly.
to Instagram near you.
Last summer, Advait. Well, I guess it wasn't last summer. It was probably this time last year. During the initial quarantine, Advait was like, I'm going to work out more for my heart health.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Are you 40? What's happening?
Okay, so I think that semester we started cardio and they're talking a lot about how it's in family history that if your family has cardiac problems, there's a high chance you're going to have cardiac problems. And I don't know why. I just got paranoid. I'm like, yo, listen, my family history is clean. Nobody's getting cancer. Nobody's getting like kidney problems or anything, but cardiac issues do pop up every now and then. So I was like, I'm trying to live to 120, maybe 130, trying to break the world record. I better start now if I'm going to do that. So I started running a lot. I started running like a lot. It was like 8K a day or something stupid.
It was
but
so
then
wild.
Yeah, but now I realize that like running is bad for your knees, so I stopped doing that. Honestly, like working out is so bad for you.
Bad
like
for you.
Cycling is one of the worst things you can do to exercise, but I do it so much because like it's bad for your wrists, it's bad for your butt, it's bad for your back.
It's not bad for your butt.
It's not bad for your butt.
It's bad for your butt.
It's bad for your butt. It's bad for your butt.
Uncomfortable, but it's not bad. Like, you're not gonna have like butt atrophy from cycling.
Yo, you have your pudendal nerve there. You can like hit that, and then you won't be able to like poo anymore, like properly. You won't be able to pee. You won't be able to poo. I'm not trying to see like more surgeons just from cycling.
More? How many do you currently see?
Okay, Kylie, how was your week?
All right. Well, I was feeling left out. I did something fun. I got a bike because, spoiler alert, I turned 25. Woo! This is my present from my parents. Actually, it's a hybrid bike, so it's road and gravel, which is really fun. Which means that I'm not going to be excluded anymore, and Haley and Advait will hang out with me. Yeah, that's what I did. And I mean,
wait, what type of bike was it again? A hybrid?
Yeah, it's a hybrid bike.
What company?
You ride a fixie. You can't say anything. Your bike doesn't even have gears.
Okay, I ride a fixie by choice. It's not like I'm poor and I like found it on the streets. It's by choice.
Kylie has a brand new Specialized. I don't think that she's poor.
I know, but like, why you hate on me for riding a fixie? It's by choice. I want to ride a fixie.
Are you about to be on a hybrid?
In the studio today is very aggressive.
Hostile.
All right, I'm not.
I'm gonna mediate the fights today because the focus is not you two today. The focus is Chris. Anyway, back to me, who's actually gonna be the focus at the moment. Yeah, I got a bike. And then I did some homework. I stayed up to date last week. Speaking of up to date, I use that a lot today for our small group because we're in dermatology right now. And yeah, I have nothing else to say. So Haley?
I don't even know what I did. Oh, I went for a bike ride today, just a short one. I cuddled with my cat a lot. I think, okay, here's what happened. I think that Finn had a traumatic experience with his wheel. Finn has a big exercise wheel. Finn is my cat, for anybody who's tuning in for the first time.
That's actually a lot of like background information that's important. Just imagine you think Finn's a dude. He had a lot of problems with his wheel.
So Finn, my cat, has an exercise wheel because he gets the zoomies a lot. It's 4 feet in diameter. It's quite large. And I noticed he's been like avoiding it, which is weird because he's usually all about the exercise wheel. So I went and looked at it and it had been like knocked off its tracks a little bit. Like it was just off of the track a little bit. And so I think that he had a traumatic experience with the wheel while I was away from home and it like launched him off or something. So I've been trying to rehabilitate him and today I found him having a nap on it. So we're getting one step closer. But yes, that's the excitement in my life. Chris, what did you get up to?
Oh my God. So I guess this is a biking week.
Yeah.
So weather was nice and I decided to use my bike that's broken. So I used my girlfriend's dad's bike. And I agree, bikes hurt your butt. Like I have, the pad that goes on top of the seat and it still hurts. So
no. The secret is the padded shorts, like the bib shorts. That's what
I was gonna go get. I have mine in my closet. I can go get them.
I'll definitely buy them.
Or just work on your butt, dude. Honestly, like just work out your butt every day.
Abby.
No, I wish. Instead of bodybuilding, it's just booty building, right?
Keep an eye on the Instagram where Advait will be posting a reel of his booty workout.
Sure.
He has no words. Did you see his lips just move there and nothing came out?
You know that Kim Kardashian photo?
Way back.
The internet one?
That's Advait.
That's me, yeah.
The champagne one where it's like on her butt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me with a glass of like.
Our count is about to skyrocket.
That's me with like a box of mangoes just holding it.
But yeah, do you guys know the game Stardew Valley?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I started, our whole farm, and that was exciting. And we got through the whole first month without killing each other. And we made it through, and it's a really interesting game if anyone hasn't played it yet. So I've been doing that, dermatology, and kind of just watching Netflix and hockey. So yeah.
All right. So wait, what happened to Genshin?
Genshin, I don't know if you've talked about it before on the show, but it gets boring after a bit. Like
it does.
It's fun to play once or twice a day, but I forgot to even log in today. So
you simping for Rosaria?
Anytime.
All right.
If you ever want to see something nice, look up Rosaria.
Don't look that up. Okay. All right. Cool. Sweet. Now it's moment of truth. Kylie, you're up. It's your main focus. It's what you do.
Yeah, it's what I do. It's my thing. All right, so today we're going to be talking about getting a master's in between your undergrad and med school. As per usual, everything we say today is based on our experiences and our experiences alone, and any thoughts that we have about the admissions process, again, do not reflect the thoughts of the school or the views of the school. So these are our views only, our suggestions only, does not guarantee you an acceptance into medical school, but we'll tell you our thoughts. There we go.
But we will tell you our thoughts. And I guess let's get started. So we're joined here by Chris Nguyen. Once again, he's one of our close friends in our med school currently, same year as us. And he actually graduated from the University of Windsor with a master's degree in biochemistry in 2019. So I guess the first question is, like, Chris, can you just quickly run through your undergrad and master's experience? Like, why did you choose master's? And I guess, when did you kind of decide to go into medicine?
Yeah, so for medicine, I guess if you want to start when I was young, like I had a good amount of family in the healthcare field. So I was really fortunate to have some exposure. But the one person who I kind of attribute like medicine to, his name is Dr. Mark Uluku. And some people know him as the guy who brought medical school to Windsor. So he's like the person who brought Schulich to Windsor. But when I was a kid, he was my pediatrician, and he was trying to give me a needle, some type of vaccine when I was a kid, and I kicked him straight in the face. And this guy, you know, he got kicked in the face. He's holding a needle. He probably, you know, does not feel it right now, but he just smiled and he gave me it. And, you know, ever since then, like, I've really seen his love for medicine, and that's what kind of got me into it. So when I was in undergrad, I did undergrad at University of Windsor, just straight up biochemistry. I wasn't really sure, but I was kind of interested in the sciences. So like something like medicine, research was up there, maybe pharmacy, dentistry. So I kind of went in with an open mindset. And then in my second year, I decided to take my MCAT. And this was like the first year of the brand new MCAT where everyone was blind and no one knew what was going on. And I didn't do really well, so I lost a little bit of motivation. But I thought to reconsider, and I kept studying and kept looking into med school. Around like year 3 and 4 is when I kind of decided that med school was, you know, something more solid. So I grinded for that MCAT, and I, you know, tried to do as best as I could in my classes. I did the MCAT. I did better, but not quite there. We all know that there's cars, and that's a monster I hate. I don't know about anyone else. But yeah, that was just that hill I couldn't climb over. So in my 4th year, I applied to med school for the first time. I also was doing stuff like research on the side, and I wasn't really expecting to get anything because of my score on my MCAT, but I did get a surprise interview with Ottawa. Prepped really hard for it, and I will say it was probably the worst person-to-person interaction I've ever had. And in retrospect, I thought I bombed that so hard.
Oh no.
Yeah. But yeah, and then that led to just wait lists, no luck, and I'm sure everyone has this as their biggest fear of waiting till July and not getting anything, right? So then at my 4th year, I just graduated. You know, what was I gonna do? I was really lucky that during my 4th year, I had a really good supervisor, and he was really open to me doing a master's with him. So he said, if you don't get into med school, master's is something we can talk about. Let me know. And that was something I always had in the back of my head during the application process. So after I didn't get into Ottawa, I was, you know, really sad and whatnot, but I decided that rather than just moping around, I'd try to, you know, push forward a bit. So I talked to him and we worked out a master's, and I was allowed to do a 2-year master's at University of Windsor in biochemistry as well. So all of that, and then I couldn't do the MCAT in my 1st year just because I just decided to, you know, take a year and focus on it. Finished up my thesis in May before med school, and I was fortunate enough to get into Schulich. So here we are 2 years later.
Woohoo!
We love to see it.
I was just adding voice to Haley's celebration in case you couldn't see her celebrating. There
true. I always forget this audio visual disconnect.
Yeah, when people are listening, sometimes it's just like pure quiet. Like, what's going on?
Meanwhile, we're all like dancing silently on the screen.
But anyways, thank you for sharing with us, Chris. That is a great story, and one that I'm sure many of our listeners can relate to. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about what you think the benefits and drawbacks to doing a thesis-based master's when you're interested in going to medical school. So how has it benefited you? And if it has at all, what were the drawbacks?
Yeah, that's definitely a great question. And I think one of the biggest benefits that a lot of people are kind of keying into is that you get research, right? And I will disclaimer it right away that like research is not mandatory at all for medical school or even like residency. If you're thinking ahead to CARMS, it's just a bonus. So that was the biggest benefit I saw. I was able to get a better look into higher level research. So instead of just, you know, looking at reviews, I was able to plan experiments rather than be told what was going on. And that's something that I feel is invaluable once you get to medicine, kind of that independent thinking. Another thing that I say is a good benefit is that, like, you know, you already know the professor, you already have a situation where they want you to succeed, then it does flow a little bit more smoothly into it. If you don't worry. And the last thing I would say that like a huge benefit for me was that like you get to experiment with education, and like you need to teach in a thesis-based master's, like either running labs for some type of course, teaching other people in your lab, or even giving lectures for professors when they're sick. So before my master's, I had very little situations with tutoring. And so like as a doctor and as anyone in the healthcare field, like education is a day-to-day thing. Like you got to talk with your patients. You got to talk with medical students. You got to talk with other students in like medical school. So it's something that really gives a good foundation. So there's a bunch of other things that we can go into as well. But there are a couple of drawbacks. So the first one that I really want to like put up in big letters and say it's a big disclaimer is that like time is always against you. Like you don't have any kind of peace in it. So deadlines don't really wait for your experiment to succeed. So I know if you guys haven't watched it yet, go to the other one last time with Braden. He mentioned that during his PhD, he had 2 years, of experiments not working. If you put 2 years into perspective, that's a whole master's. So your deadlines won't wait for you, and it's very dependent on if experiments succeed. So this leads to a lot of stress, and it really discourages people from keeping an eye on the prize. The only other disadvantage I would say is money. So finances are big. I know a lot of people that go into undergrad aren't always going to have, thousands of dollars on hand. And so you do build up a little bit of school debt. And in my case, I was fortunate to have some types of scholarships and funding, but not every program does this, and money is always a factor. So if you do have those student loans from before, and you're going to collect more during your master's, and then you're going to pay another $100K for medical school in like 2 years after that, then it's something to keep in mind. And I understand that it's tough. It's a tough subject for sure. And the last part is research is honestly not for everyone. And some people really love research and go into it, and some people just, it doesn't really resonate with them, and that's okay. And that's something you should consider if you're thinking about it as well.
That kind of leads to another question. So I know there are some schools, I don't know all of the rules, but I know at Western at least, you have to be finished your master's, right? You have to finish it out before you can enter medical school. You can't just like quit halfway through or something like that. So was there ever any time where you felt like you were struggling to finish your master's on time, or like you were afraid that you weren't going to finish it on time? And what kind of advice can you give around that?
Yeah, and that's definitely something that goes through your head, even if you're not considering med school. Like, if you think about your master's, it's not a 2-year commitment or a 1 year or 3-year commitment. It's you get the project done, you write a thesis, and you defend it. And that's not always going to be smooth. So going through it, experiments will fail. Like nothing goes perfectly the first time. That's my big thing I took away from my master's. And in the case of, let's say, Western, if your thesis isn't done and defended by June 30th after you get in, then they'll just move on to the next person on the wait list. And that's not because they hate you or because anything like that. It's just the way that they've set it out so that it's fair for all their universities. And so I was going through something similar to that in my first year. And I was really, really lucky that I had a really good team. Like I will shout them out night in, night out. They're the best team I could have ever asked for. And we were able to sit down with my professor and put a plan in place so that I could finish by, May or April. That way you're not struggling towards the end. Sorry. And that way you're transparent. So 3 big tips I would give to anyone that's doing a master's and worried about that. First thing is be transparent. Like tell your supervisor, tell your team your intentions. No one's gonna get mad if you want to go to med school. Like you're going for your dream, right? The next one is be realistic. Like there's nothing wrong with taking an extra year to do your master's if that's something that's reasonable for you. If you're going to work yourself to the ground and burn out, you're not even going to get to the OMSAS application by the time you're there. And the last one is be positive. So there's plenty of tough times you've gone through. Just keep a good mindset and take care of your wellness, and you'll succeed in your master's and in life.
Oh, so inspiring. Such great advice. We love to hear it.
Good advice.
Got you.
So Chris, next question. A course-based masters versus a thesis-based masters. I know this is something a lot of people consider. So what do med schools prefer, and why should I choose one over the other? What advice can you give us, admissions rep of the past?
Yeah. So I'll put on my other hat. So for context, I'm the admission representative for the class of 2023 for the Windsor campus. And I will disclaimer that my ideas are not representative of the actual admissions committee. I am a part of it, but obviously all these things are stuff that's determined as a committee, and that's why we have that. My thing is do what interests you. So if research is amazing and you go through your undergrad and you love doing research, you love your thesis, then you could see yourself succeeding in a thesis-based master's. But if you're more of a school-based person, you like your courses, research isn't for you, then there's course-based masters. So you go through the same schedule as you would in undergrad with some more master's level courses, and you get your master's degree that way. And the difference for me is course-based can be a 1-year commitment. So you could be in a situation where, you got to the interview, you just didn't do as well as you wanted, it didn't work out, and you just get a little bit of extra runway so that you can apply next year. And it means that you're also staying in something that's course-based. So I won't lie, my first few months of med school was rough. In my 2 years of master's, I did 3 courses total, the entire 2 years. And going into something like medical school after that, like you're rusty. So that's definitely something you should consider. And the last thing I want to say about course-based is that they do have some practicums or co-ops that can help you diversify your experience. So always look out for those. And with research-based stuff, it's thesis-based. So you have more chances for publications and more exposure to research. So at the end of the day, doing what interests you is much more important than doing what makes you look better. That's as a person that has been through both and has considered both. And something that always interests you will always be easier to explain in an interview. So think of your timeline, think of what interests you, and honestly, just do what's right for you.
Like how we always say that with extracurriculars, that you have to do whatever you're passionate about. So it's the same thing with your education. You just got to do what you're passionate about.
You need to be a passionate person in life.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's cliche, like everyone says it, but it's true. And that's why everyone says it.
Listen to us because we are saying it and you trust us.
Exactly. That's the only reason.
I'm literally a walking cliche. So yeah, I'm going to speak in cliches. Be passionate.
And put vines up on your wall.
And drink Starbucks.
And have a yellow hydro flask.
Yeah.
I just threw out my Starbucks cup or else I put it out of the garbage.
She like hits off all the checklists.
I got my Patagonia.
Patagonia, exactly. You have everything.
I respect it. You're yourself, but no one else can be like you unless they want to, and there'll be someone else at that point.
You have the Peloton too.
I say that again.
You do have a Peloton.
Did you just say a Peloton?
I'm just adding to it.
Okay, 50.
Next question. Okay, so I was just wondering, you mentioned not studying for the MCAT after like your first year of master's, right?
Yeah.
And then you did it after you completed your first years.
Yeah.
So can you talk a little bit about if that was challenging at all, or how you kind of scheduled that or organized that? Because I know it can be really hard because you don't have summers off.
Yeah, and it definitely was tough. I was fortunate enough that I did previously study for the MCAT 2 times over, and that like my personal areas of deficiency were more getting good practice in and doing enough to get familiar with the process, especially with cars. And so for me, content was something that was always there, and doing my master's allowed me to brush up on it for certain things like, marking exams or teaching types of classes, especially stuff in the biochemistry field. So studying for that is something that you have to kind of deal the whole time when you're in your master's. I will disclose that like before my MCAT, about like a month and a half, I was able to get together with my team and with my supervisor. I'll shout him out, Dr. Pandy. You are the best. You're the reason I'm in med school. And if you're in Windsor, everyone knows Dr. Pandy. So he told me to take a month and a half off to 2 months and just study and kill it, come back with a new mindset and finish off my master's. And I think that was probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because I could go home and, I was railing out a car section a day, an MCAT every other day without having to worry about my experiments. And I had enough faith in the team that I had in the lab that they could keep things running without me. So in my situation, I was extremely lucky and fortunate. But if you're talking about a general person studying for the MCAT, it's tough. Like if you actually look at the books, I'm just gonna, say Princeton Review or Khan Academy or anything like that. The books are like this big. And to put that into your head in like one summer is tough. So you have to really be transparent, like we said before, and tell people that you might not be able to contribute as much these couple of months, and like tell people your situation. And most of the times people are good and they'll say, yeah, no worries, I'll help you out with that. You get me, I get you, you get me later. And that's something that really helps out. The other thing is plan around what you need to do first and what you want to do. So like you're always going to want to do something, but don't do that every single time, because then you'll run out of time to do the stuff you need to do. So studying for the MCAT is one. If you're fulfilling your requirements for your master's, that's two. And then make sure you put in some wellness stuff there. That's three for me. And from there, you kind of just have to balance and react, and don't procrastinate. That's my biggest one too. Don't procrastinate for the MCAT.
Yeah, it's not something you can cram for sure. I think a lot of us learn that along the way.
Yeah, I think like pretty much all of us procrastinated to some extent studying for it. No, yeah, thank you for sharing that. And then one more question. So we talked a lot about the differences between course-based masters and thesis-based and why somebody might choose one over the other. What about the third option, which is just working? So why not just work instead of doing a master's if you don't get in?
Yeah, and I think you said it right there. Like, why not? Like, there's no problem with that at all, right? There's tons of reasons why someone would choose work over doing a master's, and there's no shame in taking some time off to join the workplace. Like I know some examples in our class, I don't want to dox them or anything, but like some of them took work off or took time off to work after undergrad. And honestly, there's some of the best people I've ever met. So it doesn't.
Our very own Kylie took a year to work.
Are you talking about me, Chris? Am I the best person you ever met?
Talking about all the nurses in our class, all the people who just went into companies. Like, you guys are the same as everyone else, and if not even more diverse, because you've had great experiences in your workplace, right? And like sometimes research isn't for you, and that's fine. And sometimes there's other reasons like finances, friends, family, location. Like, I don't want to move to Vancouver to do a master's-based thesis or thesis-based masters if my whole family's in like PEI. You know, it's tough to go cross country for something like that. So important thing, like, do what's right for you. There's no formula that makes a good med student. Like, all experiences are valuable come interview time. And if I'm interviewing, and I'm not saying I do interview because that's down the road, I don't care how cool or flashy experience is. I care what you learn from it and what it turned you into. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And then another question we have for you that I think a lot of our listeners are kind of wondering is that they get themselves in this situation where they're in fourth year, they're applying to medical school, maybe they don't get in and they're thinking about a plan B now, or they want a little bit more time to decide if medical school is right for them, or they've changed paths entirely and now they want to do a master's, but they never did a fourth year thesis. So do you think that it's like crucial to have that fourth year thesis to get into a master's? And like, is it worth it to go back for like a fifth year and do a thesis in your fifth year of undergrad? Or what do you think the deal is there? How important do you think that fourth year thesis is, or final year thesis, we'll call it? It's not necessarily fourth year.
And like it kind of takes me back to what I said before. Like, research is great. Research isn't mandatory. Research is a bonus. And the same goes with your thesis. Like, I've had a personal experience where a good friend of mine whose birthday it is today, shout out Caleb, he's a PhD student in my lab right now. And he didn't even think about research until midway through his fourth year. So he had never touched it. He had a personal situation that inspired him to go into research. And now he's a thriving PhD student. He's government funded. He's, all those big things, and he's loving life and he's loving his work. And it just goes to show that it's not if you've had the opportunity, it's if you have the passion for it. So if you haven't done a thesis yet and you're interested in one, and you're in your fourth year right now, or your third year, or whatever year you're in, then be a little proactive about it. Like, talk to someone and say, like, are you doing any research? Can I get in on this? And from there, you'll be able to build those connections. And even if you don't have those connections, there's always people looking for help. So apply through your master's program. Talk to as many advisors as you can. It's just about advertising yourself as someone that someone else would like to hire on their team. It doesn't matter if you've done a thesis or not, you're still going to be a good researcher if you're a good researcher,
Right.
Yeah, for sure. I think the big thing is like when you go into a master's program, it's honestly still like just stepping your foot into the water. Like it's so basic in terms of the amount of research. Like master sounds like a lot, and it is. I'm not trying to take that away, but in the grand scheme of research, it's still so small. So what I've seen is that supervisors are willing to take in students without prior experience into their master's program, depending on if you're willing to actually put in the effort to complete your projects and show up and do what you're asked to do. But yeah. I have a question that might be a little strange, but I'm asking it because a lot of people ask this question and you might not have seen it yet. But a lot of people wonder, what does masters actually do for your application? Okay, so we talked about the experiences. We get that. Like you learn a lot about all the canned meds, you're a lifelong learner, you're an educator, stuff like that we get. But like, why would you go into masters in terms of application? Would you go in if your grades are kind of low? Would you go in if you're kind of just missing research in your application? Once again, you don't need research, but just to give an example, is there anything specific that would make somebody go in?
Like off the top of my head, and it'll show you how insignificant actually having a master's is compared to med school. The only school from what I know that actually gives an advantage to master's students is McMaster. And it's the smallest bump, like 1 point bump in like a 100-point system based on you having your master's versus not. And so I think going back to what you said, it's just, if you have it, it's great. If you don't have it, then it's not going to handicap you or anything like that. So in terms of medical school, I think at Western and Schulich, masters and undergrad are completely, equilateral. Like we're not going to penalize you if you haven't done a master's. And I think that's pretty progressive, especially in a world now where if you don't have a master's, you can't even get a job, right? So for everyone wondering if you should do a master's, reasons I would say to do one is if you want more opportunities to do research, if you're doing a research base, or if you want some more runway. Like I know a bunch of people, I'm sure if you're listening and you're in the same boat, that it'll resonate with you. Like you're missing just one thing from your application that'll put you over the top, and you know it. And it might be an MCAT score, it might be fixing up your GPA, and that's when you kind of got to look at your situation. Like if it's a GPA thing, then yeah, take another year and try to improve that. If it's an MCAT thing, then do your MCAT again, and you can do that with masters without a master's. The important thing is that you're doing it because you want to do it. So don't do a master's just because you want to get into med school, because a lot of the times you might be stuck in something that you hate and you have to finish it, or else you're the person who left their master's, and no one wants to be that person.
All right, sweet. And then kind of just going off of that question a little bit, this is going to be a little bit similar, but maybe you have a different answer. If not, it's fine. But let's just suppose I'm in my last year of undergrad right now. I already interviewed. I'm just waiting for the results. Unfortunately, because like Canada, well, it's not really Canada, it's more like Ontario system's so weird that you get the results after you graduate. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, what should I do for next year? Do you have any advice?
Yeah, well, first off, huge congratulations on getting an interview.
Thank you.
I like to believe that anyone that gets an interview.
Good job,
Yeah, you killed it. I already know it. I like to think that if you got an interview, you deserve to be a medical student, and it's just a question of if there's enough spots. And so the first thing I would say is that, like, yeah, it's weird. Like Canada tells you, or Ontario at least tells you way after you've already finished up everything. And let me see, what is it? May 11th this year they get the results?
It is.
All right, May 11th. 41 days, 6 hours, 16 minutes, and 41 seconds away.
Why are you stressing out everybody right now? Like
that just brought me back to a time I didn't want to
I'm
remember.
Already I'm in my second year and I'm having like PTSD right now.
This time last year, I had just been rejected from Dalhousie, and I was in a spiral. Not last year, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Spiral like no other.
Yo, Dalhousie is kind of smart. They're doing that right before you write your final exams. They know.
Yeah, they were like, let's just crush her now, and then leave her forever.
Exactly. And you see how much anxiety just the PTSD from that causing the four of us. Like, you're not doing yourself any help if you're counting down the days towards it. Like, it's good to have it in mind, but it's just going to stress you out. So you're done your undergrad, like finish up your career strong in undergrad. If it's exams you guys are about to hit up now in the next couple of months, then do well on that. A lot of people pre-COVID, pre-end times would go on a trip after. So see if there's something that you could do to help you relax and rejuvenate, because I know it's a little scary, but this might be one of your last fun summers for a little while, especially if you're going to be loading up in med school a lot. So if and only if, and I hope that in a couple of months' time, no one listening right now will have to use this information I'm about to give you. If you don't get an email that says good news from ___, then there's a couple of things that you should look into. So first, like, what are you interested in? Like, do you like research? Do you like school? Do you like working? Like, is there something that has presented itself? Let's say, you know, there's a research position at, you know, Jameson in Windsor, and they're paying you to do this, and you're really interested in it, then do that. But if there's yes to any of those questions, if you like research or anything like that, look into those applications now while you're less stressed. And if there's any deadlines, get those down so you're not procrastinating it. And then see what's realistic. Like, is there someone that's going to take you on for your master's? Is there a master's program we're looking for? That's course-based. I know that we have a couple people in our class that did a master's of anatomy, and now they're going to kill it as whatever doctor they want to be because they know the human body upside down. Some people did like masters of public health, which is pretty important in these times. So they probably looked ahead and predicted COVID. So you have to look ahead and see what interests you. There's tons of programs. Just find something for you. And then the two other questions I would ask is, how is your wellness right now? Like, are you completely heartbroken because of med? Like, is this something you had your entire, I don't want to say self-worth, but your entire esteem on? And has this affected you mentally or wellness-wise? And that's something you should take care of first, because you're not going to make a good decision if you're not in the right state of mind. So get your support systems, do stuff that relaxes you down, and you know, think of things that make you happy. And that's something I do every single day as a medical student, because it's still stressful here too. Last thing to do is just reevaluate your application when you're all good and you're like not completely stressed out and not mental breakdown. Try to relax, get back, and then be harsh on yourself. So find parts in your application that, you know, you read and you're saying, this person's a little weird, or this person might not be what we're looking for. And that's okay to really, really be critical with yourself, but also make plans to see how you could improve that, or how you could spin, you know, walking a dog every 3 days for your neighbor in a way that seems a lot more impressive, but also a way that someone else reading it will say, oh, this person's a really good person, you know? And identify those areas and get the wheels in motion to improve them, or at least rethink them. And honestly, at the end of the day, if healthcare is something that you want and it's something that you're pushing for, then it's going to happen. Like, keep your hope up there and keep trying as hard as you can to a realistic extent. Don't apply for med school for 10 years. I beg of you, don't do that to yourself. But yeah.
Those are good tips. I like those.
I
feel very inspired.
I have something to add on.
Yeah.
Oh.
A very secret.
Okay.
I know you guys have all heard.
It's like, stop it.
I know you guys have all heard me say before that because I was dumb and burnt out, I didn't apply to any master's programs. I missed all of the deadlines, and I didn't have a backup plan to med school. But that is not strictly true, because I did have a last-ditch backup plan, and that is there is a post-baccalaureate program, a 1-year post-bac at Carleton in neuroscience, and the application is due on June 1st. So if you get bad news in May, they're going to have such a sudden influx of applications now. If
you need a sponsorship deal for this.
You just sponsored Carleton.
I know no other details because I refused to educate myself on it until I knew about medical school. I just knew that it existed. So I can't give you any information beyond that, just that it exists. So And there might be some other weird post-bac programs across Canada. That was the only one I could find, but there's always you can always find something to keep you occupied for a year.
I didn't find my job until September. I didn't get an interview the first time I applied to med school, and I decided, I was like, you know what, your MCAT sucks. You need to rewrote it, was walking out of my third MCAT, and I had a text message from my old boss, or well, she was my boss, my old volunteer coordinator, I guess, being like, I need some help. Can you come in for 2 weeks? And it just kept going on from there. So you never know what's going to happen. And it's something I like to tell myself, even to this day, is everything will work out.
How did that work? You went 2 weeks and she just paid you for 2 weeks? Or you like volunteered?
No. So basically I got the text message being like, one of our receptionists can't come in can you come for 2 weeks just in the interim? And I was like, sweet. Yeah. Getting paid for 2 weeks. I don't have a job. I don't know what I'm doing now that my MCAT's done. And then I was there for the 2 weeks and they were like, oh, like it's going to be a bit longer. And it just kept getting extended and extended and extended. And I wish I could have stayed longer, but it worked out well because I got an interview at Schulich and did my interview. And then I went and did some traveling. So it all worked out that year.
So you're like that one substitute teacher that just like takes over the class and nobody knows what she's...
That was me. And honestly, my favorite teachers in elementary school were the substitutes that just never left. So
exactly, yeah.
And speaking of that, one little thing I want to add to Chris's excellent talk about waiting between your interview and getting accepted to med school. A friend of mine applied this year, and she asked today, she was like, do you have any tips for like staying less stressed out? And I mean, like in old times, I'd be like, live it up, take a vacation if you can. Can't really do that right now. But what I started doing is, because I was obsessed with reading Pre-Med 101, I actually had gone through every single post of people on the wait list in previous years. I went 10 years back and I looked at all the timestamps to try to figure out if Western was sending them in a certain order, because I was don't do that. That was bad. But to
I was about to say, that's the worst advice you can give somebody to spend their time.
Do not do that.
Yeah, I thought that's where you're going with this.
No. You can never visit Pre-Med 101 in your life.
That is my advice. Don't go on that website.
That website.
No, Pre-Med 101's good when you're like...
No. Because then you end up being 2 years into medical school and the first thing you do every morning is still check the forums.
No, that's just you because you're a weirdo. Nobody else does
you're weird.
That. You're just weird.
Honestly,
it stresses me out to know that there are people on that forum asking questions that I could answer.
Okay, let me get to my tips.
All right.
Get off Pre-Med 101. That is my main tip. That is something I learned in med school. Don't be like Haley. Be like me. I'm just kidding. I took up knitting to keep my hands busy. So I would stop going on my phone. And sure, it sounds not that fun, but now this is really cheesy. I have this little half-finished scarf in my room, and every time I look at it, I remember a time where I was really stressed and I made it through. And that is my symbolism that I can make it through anything. So knit yourself a half knit scarf. That's my tip.
Perfect.
Don't engage in self-destructive behaviors. That's her.
No Pre-Med 101.
Can we go to the fun questions?
All right,
now?
Fun questions. Fun
okay,
time.
Can I go first?
Okay, Kylie has this question she's wanted to ask you.
It's not just Kylie. We got this question a lot on the
Yeah, we actually got this question a lot. Like, I think there's like 4 or 5 people who asked this question, and
I was really upset that it wasn't included in the first round of questions. But Chris, we want to see your shoe collection.
Okay, I saved one thing for you guys. So I bought a new pair of shoes.
No way.
Brand new.
Wait, why are we surprised? He does this like every week.
Yeah.
Are we gonna unbox?
Wait, why are we
I'll unbox for you. I'll unbox for you.
Okay.
What did we get?
Fresh unboxing. This is an unboxing channel now.
Arrived at my house 2 or 3 days ago. I bought a pair for myself. I bought a matching pair for my girlfriend because we're cute like that, I guess. Love you if you're watching.
So cute.
These are the Pharrell Williams Triple Black Collection Ultra Boost.
No way.
There's a reason I bought them, and Ultra Boosts are kind of not hype anymore. One, they're comfortable as ever. Honestly, you wear them, but you're wearing pillows on your feet.
Yeah.
And they're triple black, so no matter what happens, they'll never get dirty. So here's the box, a little bit Human Race. If you've never seen Human Race shoes, it's Pharrell's brand, and it's just basically promoting being a good person, which is pretty sick.
We love that.
Yeah.
Because I'm happy
when you open it.
Look at that.
You know, nice black wrapping paper. And here's your shoe.
There we go.
Ooh.
And so, you know, it's just a black.
That's actually really
opening.
nice.
Wow.
Some sweet cakes.
I told my girlfriend they glow in the dark. She yelled at me when we realized they're not glow in the dark. They're just reflective. So if the lights are off, you know, these little white things will reflect back. So nice pair of shoes. I will probably wear them once, be afraid to get them dirty again, and never wear them again.
I love it.
Thank you so much for sharing that unboxing with us.
Yeah,
That was very fun.
All right, my collection is right next to me. I can show you guys if you want.
Give us a
We
little.
might mess up the recording after. I'll just bring my laptop over.
Advait's gonna get mad.
No. This is worth it.
All right, I'm unplugging my laptop.
This is worth it.
Can you guys still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you still see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, we're good.
All right, so this is my workplace, you know, not too bad.
Give us an
Right.
MTV Cribs at this point.
Oh my,
Yo.
look at all
This is
of
some
them.
insider information.
What?
So
Love to see it.
on
My
the bottom,
favorite
you know,
is
we got our professional shoes. You got to look good as a med student. So I like Aldo. I know a lot of people don't like Aldo, but Aldo has crazy sales.
they
I
do.
also like, you know, types of boots, but you can't really wear them in the hospital. Top line, you know, you got some Yeezys. They were way too expensive and I regret buying them now, but they look nice. And then, you know, you just got a bunch of shoes and I like wearing shoes. And during, you know, the before times, I wore a new pair of shoes every single day to school.
Yeah, I remember those times.
And now I just wear the same
Good old days.
flip-flops because there's no point.
It's okay.
right,
Hopefully we'll get to the point
get
where
ready.
you'll have to change shoes like throughout the day
Yeah.
when you meet people. But
Wow. What
that's
a-
crazy. I thought he was gonna take us to like his garage, like walk around the house a bit, but no, it's like right there.
You
MTV
have to be able
Cribs.
to, like, adore them while he's doing his work.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just stares at them.
It's like motivation. He's like, I need to keep studying so I can buy another pair of shoes.
exactly.
True.
Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, Chris. You gave us so many valuable tips for our listeners that I'm sure they will appreciate. If you do have any more questions for Chris, you can always message us at Tachy Talks, or I'm sure we've tagged Chris in our story that asked him questions. I'm sure we'll tag him again, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you slid into his DMs and asked him some questions.
Go for it. Always all.
Perfect. And thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We'll see you on the next one. If there's anything that you want to hear from us, we're getting desperate for show ideas. So just let us know and we will do an episode for you.
Sweet. Thanks for joining us, Chris, once again.
Thank
anytime.
you.
Bye.
Bye.